There are no lengths to which I will not go.
The moment I saw you, I distrusted you. I thought you were false and deceitful. I am never deceived in such matters. My first impressions of people are invariably right.
It seems to me, Miss Fairfax, that you're trespassing on your valuable time. No doubt you have many other cosmic of a similar character in the neighborhood.
Gwendolen, darling!
My own Earnest! A moment. May I ask if you are engaged to be married to this young lady?
To dear little Cecily? Of course not. How could I put an idea like that into your pretty little head?
Thank you.
I knew there must be some misunderstanding, Miss Fairfax. The gentleman whose arm at present is round your waist is my dear guardian, Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon?
This is Uncle Jack.
Jack! Oh!
Cecily, my own love!
Yes, may I ask you, are you engaged to be married to this young lady?
To what young lady? Gwendolen?
Yes, to Gwendolen, good heavens! I mean to Gwendolen.
Of course not. What could have put an idea like that into your pretty little head?
You may.
I think there must be some slight error, Miss Cardew. The gentleman who is now embracing you is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrieff.
Algernon Moncrieff! Are you called Algernon?
Deny it?
Oh, is your name really Shawn?
I could deny it. I could deny anything if I liked. But it is John. It has been John for years.
Of course, this section is in practice on the both of us.
My poor woman, Cecily!
My sweet wrong Gwendolen! There is just one question that I would like to be allowed to ask my guardian.
An excellent idea. There's just one question that I would like to be permitted to put to you, Mr. Worthing. Where is your brother Earnest? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Earnest, so it is a matter of some importance to us to know where your brother Earnest is present.
Gwendolen, Cecily, this is the first time in my life that I've been forced to speak the truth, and I'm frankly quite inexperienced in doing anything of the kind. However, I will tell you quite frankly that I have no brother Ernest. I have no brother at all. In fact, I don't intend to have a brother in the future, not even of any kind.
No brother at all?
None.
Have you never a brother of any kind?
No, not even of any kind.
I'm afraid, dear Cecily, that neither of us are engaged to be married to anyone.
It is not a very pleasant position for a young girl suddenly to find herself in, is it?
Let us
Every serious wondrous knows that. Serious wondrous. Well, one must be serious about something if one wants to have a amusement in life. I happen to be serious about Bunbury. But you are serious about having the faintest idea about everything, I should imagine. You have such an absolutely trivial nature.
Well, the only small satisfaction I have from the whole of this wretched business is that your friend Bunbury was quite exploded. You won't be able to go down to the country quite so often as you liked, Algie. And not a bad thing either.
Your brother is a little off-colour too, isn't he, my dear Jack? You won't be able to go up to London quite as often as your wicked custom was, and not a bad thing either.
And as for your conduct towards Miss Cardew, I find your taking in a sweet, simple, innocent girl like that quite inexcusable, to say nothing of the fact that she is my ward.
I can see no possible defense at all for your deceiving a brilliant, clever, thoroughly experienced young lady like Miss Fairfax. To say nothing of the fact that she's my cousin.
I wanted to be married to Gwendolen. That is all. I love her.
Well, I simply want to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
There's certainly no chance of your marrying Miss Cardew.
I don't think there is much likelihood, Jack, of you and Miss Fairfax ever being united.
That is no matter of yours.
If it was my matter, I wouldn't talk about it. It is very vulgar to talk about one's own matters. Only people like stockbrokers do that, and then only at evening parties.
How can you sit there calmly eating muffins when we're in the whole of this horrible trouble? I can't quite make out. You seem to me to be perfectly heartless.
Well, I couldn't possibly eat muffins in an agitated manner. The bottom One should always eat muffins very calmly. It is the only way to eat them.
I say absolutely heartless from eating muffins at all under these circumstances.
Well, when I'm in trouble, eating is the only thing that consoles me. Indeed, when I'm in truly great trouble, as anyone who knows me intimately will tell you, I refuse everything except for food and drink. At the present moment, I am eating muffins because I am unhappy. I am also particularly fond of muffins.
But there is no reason why you should be eating them all in that greedy way.
Jack, I wish you would have tea cake instead. I don't like tea cake.
Goodness, I suppose a man may have his own muffins in his own garden.
But I thought you just said it was perfectly heartless to be eating muffins.
I said it was perfectly heartless under these circumstances. Now that is a very different thing.
Be that as it may, the muffins themselves are the same.
Aldy, why don't you just go?
I couldn't possibly go without having any dinner. I never go without having my dinner. It's absurd. Nobody ever does, except for vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I have just made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble to be christened at 5:45 under the name of Earnest.
My dear fellow, the sooner you give up that nonsense, the better. I myself have made arrangements to be christened with Dr. Chasuble at 5:30. I will naturally take the name of Ernest. Gwendolen would wish it. Well, we can't both be christened Ernest. It's absurd. Besides, there's no evidence at all that I've ever been christened by anybody. And I should think it extremely probable I never was. And so does Dr. Chasuble. It is entirely different in your case. You have been christened already.
Well, yes, but I've not been christened for years.
But you have been christened. Now that is the important thing.
Quite so. So I know my constitution can stand it. If you've not been christened before, I think it's quite dangerous you're venturing upon it now. After all, you can hardly have forgotten that someone very closely connected with you was nearly carried off in Paris this week by a severe chill.
Yes, what you say? That severe chill was not hereditary.
It used to be, I know, but I dare say that it is now. Science is always making such wonderful improvements.
It's nonsense. You are always talking nonsense.
Jack, you are at the muffins again. I have already informed you perfectly frankly that I am very fond of muffins. And there are only 2 left.
I hate tea cake.
Well, why then you allow to be served up for your guests? What idea do you have of hospitality?
Algie, why don't you just go? I've already told you to go. I don't want you here.
I haven't quite finished my tea yet. And there are still muffins left.
Gwendolen, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrieff, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
Well, in order that I might have an opportunity of meeting you.
That seems to me a satisfactory explanation, doesn't it?
Yes, Jed, you can't believe him.
I don't, but that does not affect the wonderful beauty of his reply.
True. In matters of great importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer to me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might come up to town as often as possible to see me?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the greatest doubts upon the subject, but I intend to crush them. This is not the time for German skepticism. Their explanation seemed quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrieff said. His voice alone inspired me.
Then you think we should forget them?
Yes! I mean,
No, true. I had forgotten. There are principles at which one cannot surrender to. Then which of us should tell them? The task is not a very pleasant one.
could we not both speak at once?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time for me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? But we are going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, your pets do this terrible thing.
I am.
To please me, I'm ready to face this fearful ordeal.
I am.
How absurd to talk of the equality of the sexes when questions of self-sacrifice are concerned. Men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
We have moments of physical courage of which we will know nothing.
Darling!
Darling. Lady Bracknell. Good heavens!
Gwendolen! What does this mean? Merely that I am engaged to be married to Mr. Wilde, Mamma.
Come here! Come over here immediately! Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young, of physical weakness in the old. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed her at once by a luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I am glad to say, under the impression that she is attending a more than usually lengthy lecture by the University Extension Scheme on the influence of permanent income on thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. Indeed, I have never undeceived him on any question. Of course, you must be quite aware that you will not communicate with my daughter henceforth.
I am engaged to be married to Gwendolen, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now, as regards Algernon.
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
May I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, resides?
No, Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. No, but Bunbury is dead.
When Mr. Bunbury died, his death must have been extremely sudden.
Well, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did he die for?
Bunbury was quite exploded.
I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished for his morbidity.
My dear Aunt Augusta, I mean he was found out. The doctors found out that Bunbury could not live. That is what I mean. So Bunbury died.